Right now we have the review of the EDC's recommendations for the flower baskets and banners that Michele and Sheila are going to come up and do for us.
Okay. Well, I do mean fun things. I hope this is something that everybody will enjoy. The EDC in our annual review to the board had mentioned that one of the projects we were proposing out of the Downtown Improvement and Events Trust was a streetscape project in addition to what has already been done in the downtown, consisting of hanging flower baskets and brackets. We are very excited that we were able to raise funds as a result of the Reading Falls Street Fair and to put that back into the downtown. What this program consists of are flowers, hanging baskets that would be in approximately 82 poles within the downtown area, consisting poles. We did some research with the town of Melrose because they have a very successful program and found out what they use and how they do it. They were wonderful. Their town planner and DPW gave us all the information. The specific flower that would be used is a Sophie geranium. It's a hanging flower, cascading, I think is the correct term, and it does not need to be deadheaded, which is wonderful. It needs to be pretty much watered, and then you leave it. I had an extensive conversation, multiple conversations with the grower that they use, and he does approximately 12 to 15 different municipalities in the surrounding area. So he definitely knows his stuff. I did go to local first, because I always want to shop local, as we all should. And unfortunately, locally they couldn't handle it this year, but we will hopefully be able to use them next year. But they did know the grower that I had talked about that did Melrose, and they had high praise for them, so that was wonderful. I sat down with James and Peter and George from engineering, as well as Mike Deberger from the DPW, to go over the logistics. The hanging baskets have a bracket that would go on them. If you want to just scoot down, Peter. This is an example of it. We did get information from the Historical Society as well as the original Downtown Steering Committee, because this is a project that is not new to Reading. People tried to do this approximately 12, 15 years ago. So it is coming to fruition, hopefully. After consulting with everyone, the thought process was to have a very simple bracket that would adhere to the pole, because you want the flowers to be the showstopper, not the bracket. Bracket was also sent to the grower to make sure that it was adequate for holding the hanging basket, because that was a concern from the weight perspective, and it passed with flying colors. The baskets themselves are a 16-inch hanging moss basket. They would be at the cost of $50 each. As I said, we had a total of 83, and then the brackets themselves would be a one-time cost of $50 each. And if you just want to scroll.
You want to go down?
Please. The baskets would go up around Memorial Day, first week in June, and then come down approximately right before Thanksgiving. In addition to the baskets, after much deliberation, we would like to do a town banner. You see these in a lot of communities. Welcome to the town. We had come to the conclusion that it would be best served initially on Haven Street, because Haven Street does not have the new poles, new lamp poles. So these would go on the older lamp poles, and we thought it would make a fabulous visual from the train station to draw your eye up Haven Street as well as down Haven Street from Main Street. There are also two other locations, each consisting of 4 banners that were suggested. 129 as you enter town. There are 4 older poles right before Town Hall. We have a beautiful schematic of all the light poles, and Peter and I did a site walk and looked at every last one of them. And then also 4 poles coming in from North Reading on 28 South, where we would have 4 banners, again saying welcome to Reading. The banner manufacturer sent us examples of the brackets for the banners, which we've had engineering review, as well as the DPW. The banners would be 30 by 60. They're Sunbrella fabric, and they have a guarantee of 5 years. This is an example of a 2-ink banner, which would be at that size $74 per banner, and then the aluminum, cast aluminum powder-coated brackets would be $79 per set.
Go down to the financial part.
Sure. We are actively looking for grants for the program. We are submitting proposals to both the Cultural Council and the Garden Club. The cost, oh, the rates, I'm sorry, Peter. Actually, if we could just scroll up.
Rates.
The rates up, there we go. The other idea after the baskets come down, which we've been tapping our fingers into the local businesses, is doing a holiday wreath on the poles in place of the baskets, along with our garland with a lovely bow. And we were thinking that that could be sponsored. We could do a program through the local businesses to have them help us out with that. But we have to crawl before we walk. Let's get the spring done before the winter. The flower baskets would be a cost of $41.50 per year, and that would be ongoing. The banners would be a one-time fee of $18.50. Brackets, $41.50, again one time, and then the banner brackets, $19.75, for a total proposal cost of, if you just scroll down just a little.
Sorry.
It's okay.
There we go.
12,000. Oh,
You saved us $10,000. That's good.
$12,125. That's your one-time fee. Subsequent years going forward, you're looking at an approximate cost of $41.50. Again, we are looking for the Downtown Improvements Events Trust to fund this project, to give back to the downtown for all the wonderful sponsorships we had received for doing the Fall Street Fair. And knocking on wood, if it was near me, it will be a successful event going forward, and we will be able to sustain the ongoing costs.
Sounds good, thank you. Comments, questions from the board?
Well, the obvious practical one is who's going to be responsible for the watering and the maintenance?
Peter.
We all saw that, he just raised his hand. We're done.
We have to buy him a ladder.
Sounds like the guy way upstairs.
It's a concern. The maintenance, the initial installation is one piece of it. Hanging 82 brackets and double brackets for,
The banners.
how many banners are we doing?
I believe there was a total of 25.
25 banners. So, and that's going to be Department of Public Works. And then putting the banners up and taking them down, because you wouldn't leave them up year round. The winter time they just get beaten up. So that's Public Works. Hanging the baskets, that's Public Works. And watering the baskets, that's Public Works. So, you know, if this is what the Board of Selectmen want to do, we'll certainly do it. I think it would make a huge impact in downtown. You know, it would look lovely, but it's going to stretch the Department of Public Works significantly. But they'll do the best they can with it.
So if I could to that though.
And, excuse me, and there's really nobody else who can do it, because, you know, I mean, if they're on the light poles, you don't want volunteers up there on ladders and so forth, so.
We did offer.
Really gotta be done by DPW.
You offered.
We did, we offered.
Yeah.
And it's definitely part of the town's, or it is the town's responsibility for a $16,000 investment that the Diet's looking to do. I think this is one well worth it. And the poles that we're looking at, I don't think will be as painful as the initial piece will be. A little more work than the ongoing work that would happen on an annual basis, especially when you figure that police, fire, or the fire department and or DPW put up the garland every year and take it down every year, as well as put up the American flags and take them down every year at roughly the same time that we would be looking to do these pieces. Just as a scheduling perspective. I saw more hands.
I think one of the questions I had was about the brackets and if they would stay up year-round, and I guess from
Yes.
after I thought of that, it sort of indicates that that's what's going to happen.
The banner brackets, the bracket around the pole will stay up, but the poles that hold the banners would come down with the banners. So you wouldn't have these funny looking sticks hanging out of the poles year round.
And then, like you mentioned, James, there are other things that go up on these poles. Would there be interference between flags, garland, wreaths? You've sort of calculated or figured out all the logistics of how that would work, and okay.
We did.
They'll have to be site specific, you know, when they go to put the basket up, we'll have to make sure that we don't put it where the flag is supposed to be, but the intent is to have the flags and the hanging baskets and the flags and the banners down Maple Street.
In the same way with any trucks, whether it's, you know, the plows, that they're high enough so.
Parallel to the curb in all instances. They
Okay.
won't overhang cars or overhang buying sidewalks that'll be parallel to the curb.
And then, like you said, James, is a good point about sort of the timing if it would happen when we're doing other things. But Sheila, when you talked to Melrose, did they give a sense of how much time or effort it took their DPW or whomever to, you know, put the baskets up, water them, and care for them?
They actually did. Melrose, it was funny, I asked her if I could quote her. She said it's one of the easiest programs that they do. The most bang for their buck is how she had put it. They do put them up right before Memorial Day. They water them every other day. She said they use a flatbed truck with an extender on the back of it. She said they have a total of 64 baskets, and she said it took them about an hour and a half to water them.
Camille?
Are we going to commit the I just want to make sure that we're going to commit the DPW to every other day.
Well, we're not gonna do it on Saturdays and Sundays, but we'll do it around the weekends and holidays.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, yeah, because if
We're
they're
we're
not,
we're not gonna pay overtime to do it.
Correct, so.
well, if they're not watered, it'll be a disaster,
Right.
so.
And Jeff wasn't at the meeting, but, you know, Mike Devergard is very excited about the project. That may be easy for him to say because I think he's gonna be retiring within the next couple of years, but, yeah, I mean, I think everybody loves it. It's an exciting project, but I just want you to be aware that, you know, it's more stress on a stressed department.
Well, I guess though, what you should be telling us is what are they not going to be doing?
The problem is, we don't know from one week to the next what DPW is doing. We react to a lot of stuff, we do a lot of planned stuff, but we react to a lot of stuff, so, you know, we'll just do the best we can. We continue to mow the parks and we may trim a few less trees, or maybe cut down a few less trees, so.
That might be a good thing.
Well, this is incentive to speed up the carry-in, carry-out project,
That's
which would
right.
help save some manpower, transfer manpower to do some watering.
As long as everybody in the room understands that as painful as this year's budget discussions were, next year's are going to be worse, and potentially the year after that, you know, as well. And I'd hate to see the community go out and you know, spend the, you know, precious resources, and then, you know, all of us look at each other a year from now and say that, well, you know, there's X number of people that we're just going to have to, you know, let go from the town. You know, these are the kinds of things that we're going to have to be, you know, cutting back on. You know, it's a beautiful idea. You know, I'm just very concerned about committing to resources that, you know, are there today, but you know, maybe even more stressed a year from now when this thing is supposed to kick in and we've already engaged in some capital expenditures to.
Sure. My point to that would be, I think that we should absolutely pilot this year, and if in fact it turned out that we were more stressed next year, look at having the diet, maybe possibly fund the watering of it and share in that if it was possible, if it becomes that much of a problem.
Are there companies that do that?
There are. Actually, the grower.
The grower
said
does it?
He wouldn't be able to do it for us, but he's too far away for us, our town. But he does take care of Newburyport and multiple of other ones.
Oh,
There are the landscaping companies too.
okay.
Or, you know, pay the town to do it on overtime, might be even cheaper than a private contractor.
I
There are
mean,
things we can look at, certainly.
you know, you might even find somebody who would do it as a sponsorship opportunity at a reduced cost or something to that effect.
Okay.
Yeah, with the risky issue aside, Camille, let me ask you how it went last year with the Adopt a Tree program, with the watering of the bags when they weren't stolen.
Well, I wish I could say it was a tremendous success. I think it was successful. I think we would not, if we hadn't done it last summer, we would have probably lost almost every tree downtown. But we'll take the post office. There's 3 trees that were put in, and they never got watered, and they died. So there were spots that didn't get done. But I think there were a lot of people that, and they were all volunteers that certainly were putting their 15 gallons a week in the gators. So I think it was successful, but I think where we weren't is that we should have been on top of trees that weren't getting watered, because it was basically you were just counting on people to do it, and some didn't get watered.
If we had some that were not adopted, the town watered them.
No, there were some that were adopted that weren't watered.
Oh, some that were adopted.
Yeah,
weren't
so
watered.
that was, but I think all in all, it was a very successful program.
And the problem with, doing that with these baskets is they're not down on the ground, they're up in the air, so you sort of need some kind of a system and equipment to do that.
Right. From what I understand, they're 7 feet off the ground, right?
I think the bottom is 7 feet off the ground, about. Where's George?
Yeah, they're 7 feet.
Okay.
10 grand in appearance.
I do have a motion for you in your packet.
Yeah, I was going to say, because if we feel that this isn't viable option, then we can have the diet look at something, an alternative to do for a big splash downtown. Or if we're concerned of the watering, we could make every pole a banner, a flag banner, which requires no maintenance. But I personally like the baskets. It's a much greener look.
Take a look at it. They'll be beautiful.
And part of the problem is that the banners on the poles in our downtown area, first of all, the height is problematic, and also you'd have to choose either doing that or the flag display, the American flag display.
Right. Whereas here we could have the baskets and the American flag.
Exactly,
is what you said.
exactly.
Okay.
Fred has his hand up.
Was there any Mr. Chairman, was there any consideration that these flowers look beautiful, they're gorgeous, but maybe using artificial flowers? Because artificial flowers actually, in a lot of cases, look almost as good as real, and you don't have to water them or have any maintenance with them. And I just wondering if anybody had looked at that as a potential option, rather than to use real flowers, because it would cut down the maintenance. You'd be able to use them year after year. You wouldn't have the annual cost, you have the one-time cost, but you wouldn't have it as a repeating cost every single year.
Right. No, good point.
I
One
don't want to
thing,
get in the flower business, but
one thing that comes to mind is just storage of 80 16-inch pots. That's all.
cemetery garage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Over Bill's dead body.
Yeah.
No, that's Laura,
We have a motion on,
Mr.
Right.
Chair, move that the Board of Selectmen approve the installation in 2012 of flower baskets on light poles in the downtown area as presented by the EDC, and the installation of banners on certain light poles on Haven Street, Main Street, Lowell Street, and Salem Street for 2012 as presented by the EDC, the details of which will be approved by the town manager.
I'd like to make a friendly adjustment to 2011.
That's what I wondered.
Just reading, yes, correct.
I was thinking fiscal.
A fiscal year.
Second.
Discussion? Rick?
I appreciate Ben's point, and I'm just as concerned, but I think there's been so much work and effort put into downtown to try to sort of make it a place that encourages, pedestrians, people to shop and businesses to invest. And I think it's worth the gamble. I think it's part of the overall effort to maximize our chance for success in downtown. So I'm going to vote in favor of this.
Any other comments? None appearing. All in favor of the motion? 5-0. Thank you.
But just to clarify,